Hi and welcome to Did Teach. I'm here with Ash Sharma, which is just fantastic, like a breath of fresh air to talk to Ash and hear about his journey. He was a former maths teacher. Now he works for a sort of big company called Multiverse, which you may have heard of before. Great company, really interesting products and services that are coming out of there. And he's very kindly given up his time to talk to us today about data empowerment and what do you need to know? What do you need to know from teaching to get those roles in tech? What do you need to prepare yourself? And as you know about Did Teach, we're all about preparing ourselves for those next steps. If you should want to move out of teaching, what do you need to do and how do you need to get there? So we are so privileged to have Ash here today to talk to us all. Hi, Ash.
Hi, Katie. Thank you very much for introducing me. And yeah, welcome everyone. I'm hoping today will be informative and beneficial for you. As a disclaimer, today I'll lay out the agenda, learning outcomes, as you normally do as teachers. But the intention of today is not to sort of say, do these things, you're guaranteed a job, but to give you a steer in the direction if you are looking for a role in the data space, which is a very large and varied and exciting space to be in. And I work in one aspect of that. So Katie, I'm ready if we can share my slide deck. And if you've got any questions, please put it into the comment box if you need to. Right, so my full name is Ashish Sharma. I was a maths teacher for nearly a decade at Reigate College, at Sixth Form College in Surrey. I did a postgraduate diploma in educational leadership. I do have some head of department experience, and I left that role in December 2022 to work as a data coach at Multiverse, which is one of the unicorn startups dealing with data apprenticeships. So it's very different to work in the apprenticeship sector. It's got its own opportunities and challenges, and I'm basically delivering data programs, just like teaching every month, delivering sessions, coaching apprentices through their qualification, making sure they're getting their coursework, which we call portfolio or projects together, and trying to ensure that they feel empowered to use these skills in their day jobs, whether it's from the NHS to direct line. I've got clients all in between that I'm trying to sort of upskill in data. So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing for the last year and 2 months. And yeah, if you need to take notes, then please do so. The outcomes for today, as I said to you, I'm pitching this at a level where you are going to take away things to help you have a steer on where you want to go. So hopefully by the end of this session, you'll understand the languages involved in these roles and the skills that they require. You should be able to sort of understand how could you upskill yourself for free or a low cost to help you pivot into that role of choice. You should also be able to learn how to do up a portfolio of projects, and I will show you an example of a portfolio of projects, and skills to show to a potential recruiter or employer. And finally, create a plan which involves self-study and sacrifice to help get a role that you desire. So those are the outcomes. I'm hoping we can tick them all off by the end. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to put an activity on the screen. There are 2 questions here, and you can put your answers into the comment box if in front of you. The first question is, as you sit here now, what technical skills do you feel that you've got that could be used in a data-related role? The second question is, what soft skills do you feel that you've got that could be used in a similar data-related role? So if you want to put your answers into the chat comment option, please advise me, Katie, if that's possible for them. It should be.
Yeah, it's possible for them to post a comment if they want. And by soft skills, what do you mean, Ash? Just to clarify.
Yeah, so soft skills, like as teachers, what kind of interpersonal skills do you have? What kind of things have you naturally sort of developed in the role? We're talking resilience here. We're talking problem solving. We're talking interpersonal skills. We're talking stakeholder management. And these are the sort of big skills that even in the data world, people prize, recruiters prize, companies prize. So think about that for a bit.
Yeah.
Greg said communication, organizational planning, data analysis during assessments, class data. Thank you, Leonora.
I think the technical skills is an interesting one.
The
I sort of
technical.
remember working with teachers who really struggled with sort of IT skills, but actually they were really good compared to the outside world. They didn't realize that they were really good. We're introduced, aren't we, to different softwares, different platforms,
Yes,
and we have to upskill in them.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Lucy. Analyzing marks, test scores, soft skills, dealing with the difficult personalities, analyzing, tracking data. Yeah, so, you know, you guys do it all the time. You have your big spreadsheets, clunky spreadsheets, you're doing your analysis, you're doing your progress 8 scores, or whatever it is. You're doing it all the time. You know, if any of you are in a position of leadership, you'll have that. Yes, so communicating, planning, organization. These are all skills that you can bring to a data role as well. I'm going to try and talk a little bit about that as well. If you want to keep adding into chat, please do. I'm going to move on though. Oops. Yeah. So there are quite a few role areas, and actually, I'm not sure if I'd. Let me just check something here. If I'd actually shown the correct thing. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So there are quite a few role areas. Katie, can you see this on the screen? The 42 jobs in data. Oh, sorry, I haven't done that one. Sorry about that. Apologies, guys. There are quite a few roles in data. I actually forgot to add a slide to this presentation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on just the most common areas that I've come to know in my year and a bit in Multiverse. And we're going to start off with a data analyst. Okay. And that's probably the most common role which people go into. Okay. When they leave university or if they do any course with data, that's the sort of role where it's quite accessible to gain a foothold in this space. So in a simple way, a data analyst is responsible for collecting, processing, and analyzing data to extract insights, support decision-making within an organization. They work with large data sets using statistical and analytical tools to identify trends, patterns, and correlations to inform business strategies. Now, if I've read that sort of to you, you might be thinking, I might be already doing that in my job. I might be supporting senior leadership with this. I might be supporting my middle management with this. Some of the key skills needed. I will be talking about these languages. So there are some key skills: SQL, Excel, R, or Python. Strong analytical critical thinking skills, knowledge of statistical methods and techniques, experience in data visualization tools, excellent communication skills. Hold on, don't you do that every day? That's your day job, isn't it? Ability to work with cross-functional teams. I'll work with the exams officer, I'll work with ESOL, you know, anyone in your place of work. Attention to detail, problem solving, you'd all do that. Okay, some of the technical stuff you might not know, but we'll talk about how you can close the gap on that as well. Understanding of data management systems and data warehousing concepts. So overall, data analysts play a really crucial role. And actually, if you type in on, let's say, Indeed, data analyst, you get thousands of roles. They're just everywhere. Okay. Salaries can range from the low level, sort of 25, 30K, up to 45, 50. The more experience you get in data, the quicker you will move up. Okay, I've seen it myself with people that I interact with. The next sort of role area is around database management. This is really, so you've all got people in your schools or in your colleges that interact with the databases. You know, they've got student records, parent records, addresses. They are using database management skills every day. You might be asking them for reports. If you're senior leadership or middle management, you might be asking, can you give me an Excel spreadsheet which has all these students in year 13, year 12 who are studying maths? And they can do those queries for you. So, these people, they work with implementing, maintaining databases. They work with data security, accessibility, integrity. Of course, the languages that they're using you might not be familiar with, so SQL, Oracle, or SQL Server. They have expertise in database design, normalization, or indexing. Those words might not be in your dictionary at the moment, but that's fine. You can learn them. Obviously, points 3, 4, and 5, they are quite technical. But if you look at point 6, ability to troubleshoot, and teachers do that quite a lot, don't we? We're very, we like to sort of find problems, and sort of we've got the patience to deal with that. Okay, and that's a really important part of any data role. Familiarity with data modeling, attention to detail. Look at that common theme: attention to detail, problem solving, excellent communication, teamwork skills. You all do that, So again, they play a different role. Data analysts provide insights for a company or an organization. Database people that work with databases, they are absolutely crucial to maintaining data, storing it, accessing it, running queries on them for people in management or whoever. The next role there is quite a niche role, but it's absolutely up and coming. And salaries within this data engineering, and in fact any database roles, they're quite good if you're willing to sort of invest your skills in them. So there are roles which include the sort of data engineering space, and this is the money here is very good actually. I'd say upwards of 50k, but obviously you need to be quite experienced. Again, there are some programming languages which are quite advanced: Python, Java. You need experience with technologies. You need knowledge of things and database systems, SQL. You need familiarity with cloud platforms. You can see that you need more tools here. Yeah, you need more experience to get into a data engineering role. So what a lot of people do is they get into a data analyst role, they develop those skills for a couple of years, or database system role, and then they move into data engineering. Yeah. And that's one thing you'll find in the data space. Keep on moving your roles, keep on moving companies, your salary goes up and up and up. Yeah, experience in data governance, security practices. Those emails that you get about GDPR, like please make sure you do this. It's all around that sort of issues. But again, look at number 9, experience, excellent problem solving, analytical skills. Yeah. So data engineers, they play a critical role. They're the sort of they lay the pathway routes between data sources. Yeah. So they maintain the sort of roads, if you want to say that, the data travels on. Okay. Make it accessible, ensure it's collected easily, and make sure it's scalable and you can access things efficiently. Okay. And so they enable other people, like your analysts. They feed the data into the analysts, to the data scientists, to derive insights. Okay, so they're sort of the engine room, if you want to call it, but they're playing a very important role. The last role area is the one that you might have heard about quite a lot, and that's the data science. And this is a catch-all term. Data scientists and their skills are actually a lot higher. You are doing things here which are quite advanced in terms of your skills, and you are doing a lot more things based on statistics and probability. So you need to know that. You need to have an experience of machine learning. Your ability to deal with data has to be at a higher level. And you're doing things with what we call models. You are dealing with machine learning models that predict outcomes for organizations. You need to be really, really strong with your communication skills, okay? Because you're presenting really technical things to non-technical audiences. And obviously problem solving has to be really good as well. So data scientists they're dealing with all the data, and they're going to make predictions based on that data using Python, using statistics, using machine learning. It's a very technical role. And really, they play a really crucial part as well, okay? For organizations. I'll give an example. Some of my apprentices who work in insurance, they're using data science machine learning models, which we've delivered and I've helped them understand, to predict customer churn or customer satisfaction based on data that they've got. So they're a key asset as well. In reality, there are loads of roles within data which incorporate. These are sort of like the areas that I found, but many roles incorporate these skills as well. So I'm hoping you've got a bit more of an idea as to what is out there in terms of the areas. Are there any questions at all before we move on to skills? So Greg's saying, I've got knowledge of SQL Server and T-SQL, but everyone is after experience. How do you cross that bridge? Excellent question, Greg. I'm going to talk about that later on as part of the portfolio section. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about languages. You all use Excel in your day job. You've got student data, you've got progress, you've got test scores, you've got assessment scores. Now, obviously, Excel serves a purpose, and many data analysts still use Excel in their day job, and it underpins a lot of work that they do. Now, SQL is the language of people who work with databases. It is their bread and butter. So it's not out of place for me to say if someone is highly versed in SQL, the sky's the limit. Yeah. So investing yourself in SQL, if you are interested in that database management side, is great. You'll be able to learn how to manage and manipulate databases, retrieve, update, and process data. So yeah, SQL serves a purpose for a lot of data roles, and if you've got that, it's a really good sort of standing for you. Now, let's say you're interested in the data analyst role. You're not interested in database management. You don't really want to deal with all that. You want to be presenting outcomes. Power BI and Tableau. Now, these are tools which we call BI tools, business intelligence tools. You can feed data into these tools, and you can make visualizations. You can make dashboards that tell a story, that show a narrative, that present outcomes to stakeholders. Okay, so these two things, Power BI and Tableau, these sort of skills come in mostly with the data analyst and the data science to a lesser extent, not with the data engineering or with the database management as such. And I know for a fact in schools, they are employing people outside individuals as data leads to come in and do this sort of stuff for them. So there is also another opportunity there. If you learn some of these skills, you can work with schools as consultants to sort of do this. You might be looking at Python at the end and thinking, I've heard of Python. Python is the language for machine learning, the language for statistical sort of things regarding the data science sort of duties that data scientists do. Okay, so Python can also be used for data engineering to work with like the data flows between different sources of data. And yeah, it is quite technical. It does involve some mathematical thought processes, but that's where you can sort of develop yourself as well. And actually, I learned my data through Python first, and then I gained experience on that. Are there any questions about languages as such? I mean, there are a lot more things. I've just sort of solidified it to the main things, to the main languages that I've come across. If there's any questions, please put that into the chat. So look, what I've got here are two Venn diagrams. Being an ex-maths teacher, I like a Venn diagram. You can see that the roles are not distinct from each other. They share tools and skills. So if you look at the left-hand Venn diagram, a data analyst has got, they'll use many tools which an engineer or a data scientist could use. And likewise, a data engineer could use some skills that a data scientist would use. You can see SQL in all four intersection spaces. You can see Python in all four intersection spaces. There are data analyst roles that use Python. However, there are things like cloud databases, which only data scientists or data engineers might use, but data analysts might not use. Or well, actually they do, but each role is slightly different. Skills-wise, data analysts might be doing certain skills, but data scientists and data engineers will have overlaps with other skills as well. But you can sort of see here, the data scientists have the statistical analysis there. So I'm not going to lie, some background in maths would be helpful with data scientists if you're looking for that role. But the space is so open, you don't need to have a traditional maths background to get into this space. It all comes down to your work ethic, to your determination. Okay. So I'm hoping that sort of shows you the roles, the tools, the skills. Okay. Katie, do you have any questions at all before I move on? I hope I'm not moving on too quickly.
No, I think that's good. Like that's really useful slide actually, just to see the crossover and just to think where you as an individual are best placed and what skills potentially are you lacking, so you can upskill in them. So yeah, really useful, Ash.
Thank you, Katie. So here's the next sort of objective that I had at the beginning. How do we upskill ourselves? What do we do? First of all, decide on a pathway. Now, that seems quite difficult, but I'm hoping I've cleared the fog a little bit and you've got some ideas as to different roles. If you're interested in database management, get SQL. That's it. If you're interested in data analysts, get SQL, get Power BI, maybe Tableau. If you're interested in data science, Python and statistical techniques. If you're interested in data engineering, SQL, Python. Yeah. Decide on that pathway and a skill and focus your energy towards that. And I've then made 3 sort of bars of information here. What is free? YouTube is absolutely amazing. You can type in lots of things onto YouTube and you can get a lot of information out. Free Code Camp is a good website. It's got loads of courses on there, little things that you could do. And yeah, fully intensive as well. Like you'll go through the whole sort of skill set that you need for that tool. There's also, if you're interested in SQL, there's something called W3 Schools. There are courses through Open Learn as well. What's next? Let's say if you want to invest a little bit more, and we're talking a few £100, £200, I don't know, something like that. Data Camp's good. They're running a discount, 50% off now. You get a yearly subscription for £129. And for that yearly subscription, you've got and they're constantly updating their courses. You know, you've got everything, SQL, Python, everything. Let's say you want to become a data analyst. You've got a whole track with all the courses that you need to get to that certification. Data Camp's excellent. Coursera, loads of courses from universities that they're linked with. There are lots of online Harvard courses. Udemy do lots of discounted courses. I bought 3 courses from Udemy last week on machine learning at knockdown price because they're always running something. DataQuest is good as well. But what's the most expensive? Let's say you've got financial backing. You've got the ability to pay thousands of pounds. Greg, I'll come to your question in a second. The most expensive methods are boot camps, and they are very good at advertising, but we're talking 10k, 9k, that sort of bracket there. There are loans, and unfortunately some of these boot camps will involve you joining full time, and I know it's not financially viable, so leaving a job to join a boot camp for 3 months to go to London to learn in a swanky office, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Yeah, but there are options there. I did a course from BrainStation. Now I had to do it online, and I joined the Canadian time zone. So I was doing it at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was learning Python for 6 weeks. There are also online master's courses. So I've got a bit of a career regret. I did a postgraduate diploma in education leadership. And I sort of think to myself, if I'd done a master's course in data science, that would have been a better investment of my time and money. So there are loads of online courses at master's level. Now, Greg, what time frame for gaining these skills? The time frame's up to you, mate. You've got to set yourself a time with a sort of a time like where you think, okay, within 2 years, I want to be able to apply. Within a year and a half, I should be develop my skills to a level where I can apply. But first of all, Greg, you need to research these sites and think, how long would it take me? Yeah. So the time frame is really dependent on you. But some of these courses like Data Camp, you can finish as and when. Like there are courses, the boot camps, they're really strict times. The courses, the online masters courses, the more you invest, the less there's a much more rigid time frame which to complete them. Does that answer your question, Greg, a little bit? Right. Greg also asked a really important question about experience. You are not. Oh, sorry, Katie, you came off mute for a second.
No, I was just going to ask you how long it took you to train.
Yeah, it took me. So let's put it this way. I became head department 2021. I picked up Python on the side. And within a year and a bit, so a year and a half,
okay,
I then started up. But again, my role, and I'll talk a little bit about this if you're not already sort of clocked it at the beginning, my role is it's quite educational in the sense that I'm delivering courses, I'm coaching people. Of course, there's a technical side, I have to know what I'm talking about, but it was a nice pivot into the space. It's not a truly data role in that sense. Okay. Lucy's asked a good question. I heard masters are more valuable. Yes, I'm not, Lucy, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The more money you can put in, you will stand out. And you will, as well, Lucy, for the masters, you're going to develop what we call capstone projects, where essentially you are guided to make a proper project, which will be industry, which you can use for an interview in industry. Okay. So yes, doing things on your own takes more time. It takes more creativity in terms of how you're going to do it. It takes more stress in some ways. But again, it depends on everyone's budget, what you feel like you can do, and time as well. I think Jill, Katie will send the recording this email in an email this week. Do apologise for that, Jill. So here's the experience gap. I'm not going to lie to you. You all work in teaching. You're not going to develop database management skills. You're not. But what you can do is expose yourself to them. Go and talk to your MIS team. See what they're doing. I used to sit with them half an hour each week. What kind of queries are you running? Can you talk me through that code? Try and understand what they're doing. If you're learning SQL, if you're interested in those database management roles, engineering roles, why not pop a visit in? Do that. But really, what's the crux of all this? Portfolio. This is the bit here which will separate you and will show that you've applied your skills. In my day job as a coach, it doesn't matter how much theory I'm delivering to my apprentices. My apprentices will have to execute that into their day job. And they're developing a portfolio of 4 projects, from a simple Excel project all the way up to a time series analysis, which is more data science-ish. Yeah. Now, if you can do that, great. It can be done in a few ways. Focus on data sets that you're interested in. This could be from your school or class. You can make a really simple dashboard based on your class data. Let's say you've got all your class data from previous academic year, and you want to make a simple dashboard using Power BI. Why not? Try it. Learn some Power BI, do a course or 2, and try it on your class data. I asked the heads of science for, Luke, I'll come to your question in a second, and Greg, I'll come to your question as well. I asked the head of science for their data from chemistry, biology, and physics, and I made a Python code that sort of got me student results. So I made a really simple Python project, but I was interested in that, so I made a project aligned to that. Now, there are websites which can give you open data sets like Kaggle. I'd highly recommend going on Kaggle. If you're interested in, let's say, a particular sport, interested in football, you can make projects based on football. You can make a dashboard on it. You can make, let's say you want to do a machine learning project predicting if there's a relationship between the number of corners in a football match and the team winning or something like that. I've had a colleague that made a project like that. So you can go on websites and find data sets that align to your interests. Start thinking about relevant questions you'd ask that data set. And what would you want answered from that analysis? If you're making a dashboard, don't just make it for the sake of it. What questions do you want answered from that dashboard if you're a senior stakeholder? You've all presented to someone in your school. If you've all presented to fellow colleagues, let's say senior colleagues, you've presented findings. Imagine you had a dashboard on student data. What would you think that would be? What would you want to show? Try and tailor your project around that. Start slow. Don't aim for the stars immediately. Do a course, learn some skills, practice with the data on those little courses, whether you're doing it for free, whether you're spending, £129 a year on a data camp subscription. Start slow, build your way up, and show people in your workplace, in your department, if they're willing to learn and listen to you. Yeah. Is it useful for them? Maybe a senior leader would say, do you know what, Greg? Thanks for that dashboard. Can you do one for a meeting I've got in a couple of weeks? Why not? Put yourself out there. Now, the best way of showing your portfolio, let's say you want to leave school altogether, you want to get into industry, is developing a portfolio. You can do it by using a blog like WordPress or using GitHub. Now, GitHub is a way, like people that work in data, they use GitHub as a way to sort of showcase the code that they've learned. and you can put explanations around that code. So I'm going to show you an example of a portfolio which someone in my network has made. But obviously, you add to that, your first project might not be great. It might be really basic. It might be a simple Excel dashboard. But you keep adding, keep updating, showing it off on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, show it off. It doesn't matter if anyone doesn't like it or comment on it. Just show that you're doing something about it. Yeah. So Greg, for my role, Multiverse, they wanted people that basically could deliver skills to apprentices that had that human interaction in their sort of experience, that had I think, yeah, I did. By that point, when I was applying, Greg, for the role at Multiverse, I had developed my Python skills to a decent level. I'd done 2 or 3 projects, so I had to show that I had a sort of a growth mentality. I don't know how, or growth mindset. Some people like that, some people don't. I had to show that. So that's the way I overcame it. That, okay, I don't know everything, but here's some stuff. I'm working towards it. Luke, the best place to look for some roles, LinkedIn. I'm going to talk about that later on. Indeed, you can just type in things like that. There are, I think Indeed's really good, actually. Indeed's really good. And recruiters, there are lots of recruiters out there in this space. So let's go and do a deep dive. I hate to use that word. I don't want to give anyone any Ofsted sort of memories there. I went for Ofsted myself. It's horrible. But let's do a deep dive into a portfolio. So this is someone that's on my LinkedIn, and this is her portfolio. So she's given her name, the skills, little introduction, what experience she has. She's just graduated from university, and here are her projects. So she's done a Python project here, and it's aligned with Harry Potter, one of her interests. So this project, she's done something called web scraping and sentiment analysis. So she's scraped a lot of data from like Harry Potter related websites and done some sentiment analysis where she's basically analyzed the words, the sentences to make a project around Severus Snape. She's then done a project on SQL, Whispers of Ghibli's Enchanted Tale. Now, if I click on this, what does she want to do? What's the objective of the project? What did she do? What were the insights? And you can click on this. This will then go to a GitHub profile, which has everything there and the code as well. Here. So here's the code that she's done in SQL to answer her relevant questions. So this is one of the best portfolios that I've seen. This is on a much higher level than I'm used to. And obviously, it requires time. She's done things in Marvel. So she's connected SQL with Power BI to make a project on Marvel. She's done a project on streaming giants, Netflix versus YouTube, on Tableau, another dashboard style thing. You can find projects to do on YouTube. You just type in Power BI project. There are people that will do an hour-long walkthrough with you and will give you the data set. You download the data set, you download Power BI, which is for free. Just follow that YouTube walkthrough and just do as they say. You'll have a dashboard by the end of it. And maybe then be confident to do it to your own data. So that's an example of a really good portfolio that someone's made. Are there any questions on the previous few slides, like portfolios, upskilling at a particular cost sort of element, anything at all? I think we've got quite a bit of time, actually. I will finish on time. Katie, did you have anything to ask at all, or any points maybe I missed out?
Well, it was really interesting seeing that project and how it's laid out and how you can, I guess, how you can still put your personality into it as well, can't you? So, genuinely, I presume those are things that she's interested in, and then she's just married that interest with the technique that she wants to prove that she can do.
Yeah, and she's got these data sets from Kaggle, and you can find all this.
Kaggle? I was trying to find the link for that.
Yeah, so Kaggle.
Thank you.
So Kaggle. Yes, talk show host. There are quite a few YouTube channels. Here's Kaggle. Okay, so I can type in, go on data sets. I can type in, let's say, education. Let's say you're really interested in education out of your educational hours. You can find data sets on education. couple other questions. Are there any YouTube channels you recommend? There are quite a few talk show hosts. I haven't got a list of those, actually. I should have done. If you go on, I'm going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn in a second, but majority of when you go on LinkedIn, if you haven't got a profile, I'd advise you to make a profile. Katie's on there, I'm on there as well. On LinkedIn, you have like data influencers, and they often have YouTube channels. I do regret not adding someone to this though. Do you think this is a sector which suffers from ageism in its recruitment practices? Zoe, that's a really good question. I don't know, but Zoe, one thing I do know is that experience is king. And over time, if you get yourself into a role, develop your experience, I think over time you will be able to become valuable. Okay. I've not heard of anything about ageism as such. I really don't know. All I will know is from my conversations with people, my apprentices, I've got apprentices who've been working for 25, 30 years and they're picking up machine learning skills and they're happy. You know, they're upskilling themselves and they're just doing it, you know, and I've got apprentices who are 23, 24, you know, all in the same cohort and we're all learning. It doesn't really matter. Well, Greg's sort of giving a voice of confidence there. How can you plan your exit? LinkedIn is a great site to make a profile. If you haven't done it, make a profile on LinkedIn, you know, keep it basic for now. And you can follow important people in the data space. If you're not sure who those important people are, follow me. I'm not important, but I do like some of them, some of their posts. I do share some of their posts. And if you sort of add me or follow me, you can get access to them. All right. You can type in data analyst. There are many people that are in this space that are really, really good. Okay. On LinkedIn, you know, there are ways of marketing yourself to make yourself attractive. And one thing I want to make sure, you know, I've said this before, many people start as a data analyst and then move up into different roles. Okay, so don't think I want to get to data science immediately. It might not happen. It might not happen immediately, but you can work your way in through different ways. Consider your budget. Do you have a financial support system to invest in a boot camp or an online master's? Those require a huge sacrifice financially and time-wise. It might mean giving up your job for 3 months. It might not be possible, but maybe there are some online masters and they are flexible with your day job. If you can't invest in them, your journey may be longer and you've got to accept that. If you are doing things for free, there are YouTube channels, there are lots of things course-wise, free code camp, all this sort of stuff. If you've got a low to medium budget, yeah, you can still do things, but it's up to you to make that plan of progression. And it's not easy. Okay. But again, if you want to add me on LinkedIn, I can talk about it and help you out. There are people in the space that can sort of do a lot more in terms of advice as well. Think carefully about the data role you want to get into. A data analyst role isn't flashy. You know, a lot of the time actually you're cleaning data. You're getting really nasty spreadsheets and you just, you know, someone's given them to you and said, right, make a Power BI dashboard from that. And I want these things done in this deadline. And you get in this spreadsheet and it looks ugly. It's like, what? Like the columns don't make sense. Everything needs to be reformatted. A data analyst, a lot of the time they do that. You know, if you're interested in that, problem solving, dealing with data, getting into nitty gritty, presenting as well, it might be for you. If you're interested in the statistical side of things, data science, machine learning, okay, great. But at the moment, the most accessible role is that analyst role. And you can learn a lot from there. It might involve a drop in salary. Let's say you're middle management and senior leadership. You know, as I said to you, data analyst role could range from 25 entry level, 30, 35. So you've got to be prepared for that. Okay. But I've read an article recently, a data analyst in Scotland. He started off at 25K. Within a few years, he's at 70K. Now, I've got a friend myself. He started as an IT support desk. He started an IT support desk. He just taught himself SQL. He became so good. He's now like, quite a senior software developer, SQL developer, something like that. And he's managing a team. But within a few years, he's developed himself to that level. I don't know his salary, but it's really possible in this space to sort of accelerate, obviously depending on how good you are and obviously the experience you gain. What kind of things are we talking about here in terms of perks? Work from home, flexibility, make your own schedule, treat like an adult for most of the time. People that my apprentices that I work with, they've got 1 or 2 days in the office. Absolute trust. Luke, where would you find roles that combine data and education? On TES, I think, Luke, there are some roles like data lead. If you go on the TES vacancies, you just type in data, you might find some roles like that. Also, there are apprenticeship providers that are looking for people who can help, like myself, like a data coach, but deliver data programs. So you're not really in that as a data role technically, but you are combining the best of both. Or Luke, maybe training, corporate training, data training. There are roles like that. But again, it depends on how much you're willing to drop salary wise. Give yourself a deadline. Start tailoring your CV. Like my ex colleague, she was head of computer science. She left that role to go. She was in computer science education for 15 years or more. She left to go as a software engineer or software developer somewhere. And I tapped her on the shoulder and said, right, what did you do? Tell me everything you know. And she was one of my biggest inspirations for leaving education. She said, Ash, your CV needs to become more aligned to the role that you want to get into. So you should get out all the teacher stuff. Of course, you've got all your education experience in there, but if you want to get a role in data, bring out the data. What insights do you get? What kind of things did you present data-wise? What kind of projects did you do? Bring that out in your CV. If you've got a portfolio, link of that into that. So everything, you've got to think about the soft skills that you've got in your day job, which align to the data role, and the technical skills that you're building towards that role as well. So that's how you should start tailoring your CV. I said, my advice, research roles. Pick a skill or two. I'd say two. If you're looking, I'd say SQL and a visualization. If you can manage databases and you can visualize data in some way or form, those are really two key skills. Start making a plan and study to learn. SQL is a very good skill to learn as entry level. It does not require any maths degree. It just requires a sort of logical thought process. Okay. Pick a medium through which to study. By that, I mean a course. Pick a course. Or how are you going to do it? Are you going to do it through data camp, through YouTube, master's degree, whatever? Pick a medium through which you're going to do that. If you're looking at data science roles, I think a master's degree would be excellent. But again, that depends on you, how much you can afford, time, how much time you can give. Once you've learned some skills, start making projects. My first dashboard or my first sort of visualization project was awful. It's basically, it wasn't great at all, but I don't really advertise it too much. But it doesn't matter. I've shown something. I've tried. You know what I mean? I've tried to do something on Power BI, and keep updating it. When I did my first Python project, where I basically typed in the student's name, let's say Tom Smith, and it read out his physics, chemistry, maths results from the end of year 12. I cross-referenced it and it was right. That was amazing for me. And I can say that in my interview that I made these sort of projects. Okay, they're not high level, but I've executed some Python code there. And obviously, once you feel you've developed them, then get in contact with recruiters. There are lots of recruiters in LinkedIn. Get in touch with them and just apply. Why not? Put your CV forward. You might get rejected left, right, and center. My ex-colleague, head of computer science, she was rejected many times, but she also had lots of interviews. Yeah, so she realized how she had to sort of tailor her CV, tailor her skills, bring that forward, get a foot in the door, somehow get to interview, and impress them with her technical skills or her willingness to learn. Yeah, she's not the finished product. She understood that, but she's willing to learn. She's willing to pick things up, and that's great. That's the one thing I made sure I'll put forward in my interview as well. I said how to use LinkedIn, connect to people in the space that you're interested in, follow influencers. They do daily posts. Connect with people in the space to gain more insight, get advice. Add someone who's a data analyst. Can you give me a 30-minute chat at 5 o'clock today? How did you break in? The potential in this space is huge. It is very competitive though. You don't need a traditional maths background. I'm trying to demystify that. You do not need a traditional maths background. I don't know if there's any female attendees today. There is a specific course, Code for Girls or something like that. I cannot tell you the amount of people that are. Katie, you came off mute. Sorry,
Yeah,
you did an article on this, didn't you?
I did, yes. Yeah, we worked with Jessica, who was a primary school teacher, and she did a course on Code First Girls. Their website's absolutely fantastic. I'll put it in the chat now for you guys to have a look, because it's a really good way for females to get into tech, and they're very, very supportive.
And I know at least 3 or 4. One of my closest colleagues, she's benefited from that. She did that course, and she got the role of Multiverse. I also know someone in my network. She did a completely different degree, like marketing degree, worked in Sky for many years, and then has done did that Code for Girls, and now working cloud software development, something completely different. Greg, as next one sign, yeah, Greg, you've got some skills already, but that's not to put anyone else down. You can put those skills, you can find those skills and develop yourself. Okay. And I think really, yeah, a bit of a Q&A time now. We have finished a bit early. If you want to type in anything into the chat, please do. If you want to obviously leave, you can do as well. But I'm hoping that sort of gave you some direction.
Just while people are thinking of questions, I would just like to say, that's been really clear in its structure, Ash. You can tell that you're a teacher, because it was nice kind of steps all the way through to get us to kind of visualize those roles and what works for us. And in terms of CVs, you really do need to work on your CV. You need to tailor it to the role you're going for. They don't need to know everything about you, but what they do need to know is where you match the job specifications. So forget about those sort of traditional CVs where you just write down, when I was 7, I did X, Y, and Z. Just focus on the things they're looking for. This, where can I prove that I've had that through my teaching career, or I've had that through a course that I've undertaken, or a project that I've worked on.
Yeah, Katie, really good points. And actually, that's exactly the advice that my ex-head department colleague gave. Luke, you asked the question, what's the data market like right now? Luke, I'm not going to lie, the tech space goes through ups and downs, but the data market, data is gold. And as I said to you, people that have command on SQL, people that have command on some languages and visualizations, they are prized. However, it's competitive. It's not like you can send out, let's say, 30 applications. You might get 25 rejections. You might get 3 interviews and 2 no responses. Yeah, so it's not easy to get in. It's the whole point. I put that disclaimer at the front. It doesn't matter what I've showed you today. It comes down to a bit of luck, comes down to a bit of bravery at some point, and also just getting in contact with the right people, the recruiters, getting in contact with people on LinkedIn, but also, Luke, showing yourself off at your workplace. Maybe in your school you do a dashboard on something. Show yourself off. Maybe you can make a role within the educational space like that. There are people that are these skills, schools, especially big maths, Katie, multi-academy trusts, they're looking for people like with the data skills, because they've got a lot of data. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know what insights to get from it, and need to make action plans from that data. So do look around with that. Zoe, from your experience, how easy it is to get into apprenticeship programs? Zoe, I've got people on my apprenticeship program from the whole age range, really, from, let's say, 23, 24, 50 plus. They've got an apprenticeship, but they've gone through the apprenticeship through their company. I think if you were to try and inquire as a loan application, individual application, so Multiverse, we can have people on our program. But again, can you become a full-time apprentice? Can you afford to do that? Do you have the time to do that? These are all considerations that you need to take in. Have you got kids? I've got kids. I'm doing a SQL course on the side. It is very hard to make time for these things. Working full-time, marking books. I learned Python in my holidays, really, and any time I had on the weekends. It wasn't easy.
Yeah. So you have to be passionate about it, haven't you? Otherwise,
yeah, you've got to make
you're not
something.
going to make time for it unless you're really invested in that. So.
That's where you need to have a time frame. In X years, I'm going to make this move. If I don't do it, Okay, fair enough. I'm going to pick up these skills, but have that time frame, make that plan, take a medium that you want to take, do the study in. Greg, I'm about to take my BI certification. Yeah, great. I'd say, Greg, any tools that you can get. If you get BI certification, get it. Jump to Python if you want to, great. The more you can pick up, the better. But let's focus on, as I said, maybe SQL, just to get yourself foot under the door with skills, and some sort of visualization skill, Power BI, Tableau, which you can download for free. Heck, you can make a dashboard in Excel. And there are YouTube videos. You can type in on YouTube how to make a dashboard in Excel, and someone will show it to you. And through that search, you'll find the most popular YouTubers. So that will answer someone's question from above. Still got some time, guys. Any questions, please do ask. Really interesting question, Lucy. AI is a really, really hot space. In my company, in the year and a half a bit that I've been here, AI has seeped into certain parts of not my role as such as a coach, but it's taken certain administrative duties off me. It is an interesting space, Lucy, and I'm not going to lie to anyone in the delivery. AI may affect roles in the future, but again, you need that human ability to present findings, to visualize, to make sense of things. AI is not perfect. Yes, AI tools can write Python for you, but it's not always right. So yeah, it's all right now. We'll see what the space will look like in a few years' time, Lucy. But if you can even, you raised a really good point, Lucy. I actually didn't talk about it. I'm not an AI specialist, but AI can also be something worthwhile looking at as well as a space. But that requires a completely different set of skills. We're talking high level machine learning, PhD level, which this is why I haven't really pitched that in this delivery. Zoe, I've got colleagues, like we've got a London office. I mean, I'm just talking for my company. We only have to go in once a quarter to London. I've got colleagues who I've got one colleague who lives on a boat, on a longboat somewhere. But what I'm saying is employers recognize the need for flexibility in the workforce now. Teaching is, I hate to say, is an inflexible profession. Doesn't matter. People might say school holidays. If you've got something happens to your child at school, you need to run off. Something's happened that you need to go off for. There's nothing like that in my job. There is flexibility. I'm treating like an adult. Companies are recognizing this. So there are some employers that might say, look, we're going to have to bring you back to the London office 2 days a week, something like that. But you can negotiate with them. You know, you've got that power. But again, Zoe, it comes down to you showing skills, potential. But I'd say, Zoe, this even now, I think most roles can become quite flexible. So
yeah, I found the same thing actually. That we work with companies that do not have an office; they are just completely remote. And I think some of the younger, especially ed tech companies coming through, that's more of a necessity for them as well, because they have to use the money that they're getting in a really proactive way. And so therefore this old fashioned notion of having an office space just isn't relevant for them at the moment. So yeah, I think, Zoe, don't worry too much about that. And again, like Ash says, you can negotiate these things as well. So if you get the job with them, you can just say, right, before I accept the job, I would like to just ask, is there a possibility of less time in the office, or whatever works for you. Obviously, if they say in the job specification that they want you full-time on site, there's less room for negotiation there. But if it's a hybrid role, it's definitely worth asking those questions, or speak to HR before you even apply. So you don't want to spend time and energy, writing your CV, your application, going for the interview, to find out that that's definitely never going to happen. So speak to HR first and just see if that's something that's feasible.
Thanks, Katie. Lucy's asked a really good question. How do you think these data jobs compare with teaching in terms of time, energy, holidays? Lucy, let me put it to you this way. Holidays is never going to compare. Yeah, I've got probably about 28 days allowance. Now, I had to go for a 3-week holiday for my brother's wedding in India. That's basically all gone. I've got 9 days left for the year. I'm basically not going to... But again, at the day, I went on holiday February half term and I had 2 extra weeks. Teaching could never give me that. It's my brother's holiday. I can't miss that. The whole holiday wasn't 3 weeks, but seeing family, visiting other people. If I was still in teaching, I'd have to rush back and then recover. It's not possible. So, but that being said, time-wise, you manage your time. You can manage your schedule. You can move your meetings around. I do feel treated like an adult. I can do my school pickups, drop-offs. I've never thought my dad he used to just drop me off really quickly and off you go. See him in the evening. Things have changed now. I'm dropping my son off. It's a real privilege. I pick him up. Love it. Time, energy-wise, once it's 5 o'clock, 5:30, shut my laptop. I'm done. I don't have any marking. I do have projects to review, but I don't take any weekend marking with me. I used to have folders of marking to take with me for my students. Does that answer your question, Lucy? I think there's a lot more. There are good perks, of course. If pension-wise, it's not going to be as good as teaching, is it? I'm not going to lie to you, it's not. But if you have private pensions, maybe you can do more there. There is, again, I'm not going to lie, private sector redundancies happen.
Yeah.
Teaching redundancies happen. Katie, you sent a link as well recently, didn't you, on LinkedIn? Redundancies happen, and it's difficult sometimes, and that's what I'm saying. You've got to develop yourself really well here. There are people in the space, even really experienced software engineers, they're struggling to get a job. It's not. I'm not talking about data roles as such here now. I'm talking about people in the tech space. Tech is a big word. We're incorporating software, AI, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, it's not easy, but you start at a low level and then move up. Yeah, and with your skills, with the role that you might want to look at, you're not going to get into a 40, 50k role. It's not going to happen. But maybe you can get into a 30k role within 3 years. You're at 60k. Yeah. Greg, can you remind me what a multi-academy trust is? So there are many academy trusts like Harris Federation. So they're a multi-academy trust. They run several schools and primary schools across London. So they try and have uniformity in their approach, teaching, resources. They try and share best practice with each other. But the biggest thing that they're looking forward now is data. How do we interpret the data that we're getting from our schools? How do we know which schools are doing really good? How do we know which teachers are doing really good? Does that answer your question, Greg?
Yeah, and it's interesting what you're saying as well, Ash, about becoming a consultant and working within that school. You don't actually need to leave, do you? You can sort of stay within the school. You can stay within your teaching job and potentially negotiate dropping down a few hours and picking up a bit more of a data role within that. So it's worth looking at other data roles within big academy trusts. How are they doing it? What sort of money are they paying? I've said this to people before, but it's worth looking at Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a sort of comparison site, so you can have a look at companies, what people are saying about those companies from the employee point of view, but also they tell you what the salary expectation is, or roughly what the salary expectation is for those roles. So it might be worth having a look at that as well.
1 minute left if anyone's got any questions. Thank you guys for asking some really good questions, actually, thought-provoking questions as well. Which role, Luke? Sorry, you wouldn't be able to speak to me, would you? If you're talking about the multi-academy trust, like data leads and stuff like that, that's probably what they're called nowadays, or data consultant.
And
for consultancy role. Oh, sorry, Katie.
Sorry, yeah. No, answer Luke's question. That's fine.
Yeah. So, Luke, the roles, they don't have like a set name. Like, there are some people that work as like freelance consultants. They learned all these skills, all the skills I've been talking about, and they develop these things for schools. Let's say ad hoc, and the schools are like, "Do you want to come? Do you want to just join us? Maybe as a consultant." So they don't really have. There's not a set name for them. There are people that are freelance. There are people that have a full-time regular job with this, in the school. But at the moment, I think that space is growing as well. No, anyway, I think we're out of time now. So thank you very much, Katie, and everyone who turned up. I hope that was useful.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Ash. I really do appreciate it, because this is good things for teachers to know. It's great to know how we can upskill, how we can add something back into the school that we're already at, and potentially use that to pivot out if we need to. So it's lovely to hear from your point of view, having that lived experience. Very, very valuable. And I can't thank you enough for giving up your time. And thank you everyone for joining us. Much appreciated.
You've all got great skills. Seriously, teachers are massively underappreciated. Once you leave, those skills really come to the fore.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.